This is the Whole Care Network. Helping you tell your story one podcast at a time. Content presented in the following podcast is for information purposes only. Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the host and guest and may not represent the views and opinions of the Whole Care Network. Always consult with your physician for any medical advice, and always consult with your attorney for any legal advice. And thank you for listening to the Whole Care Network.
In this episode, Nancy and I are talking with Amy Ives of Emory's Integrated Memory Care about the new Medicare Program guide. We're going to be learning what it is and how to know if you can leverage it. We're sharing 3 tips. Welcome. We're Sue Ryan
and Nancy Treaster.
This podcast brings our years of experience in a variety of family caregiving roles to prepare you to navigate your caregiving journey.
We're sharing our personal experiences, not medical advice. And because it's our passion to support you on your journey, we believe no topic is off limits. Let's get started. Welcome, Amy. We are so excited to have you.
Thanks for having me.
This is an awesome opportunity to talk about the U.S. Medicare GUIDE Program. And if you're listening on the day this is published, there's a lot of big announcements today, which is July 1, 2025. So we're excited to give you an overview so you can understand how you might participate in the GUIDE program. But first, let me introduce you to Amy. I'm going to read you her bio. Amy Ives is a gerontological nurse practitioner who is a trusted expert in geriatrics, demonstrating a deep understanding of the unique healthcare needs of the aging population. Throughout her career, Amy has played a pivotal role in building care models, and that's important to the GUIDE program, and developing teams that yield superior outcomes. In addition to her clinical work, she is a member of the team at Emory's Integrated Memory Care, which is a nurse practitioner-led primary care practice for patients living with dementia. She's also the program lead for the Medicare GUIDE program at Emory Healthcare. Sounds like we have the right person today.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Amy, let's start with tell our listeners what GUIDE is.
Thanks for having me. I'd love to share all the innovation that's happening in the world of geriatrics. GUIDE stands for Guiding an Improved Dementia Experience. It is a U.S. Medicare pilot program that aims to provide better support and resources for persons living with dementia and their caregivers.
Which is awesome. And you heard Amy say it's a pilot program. You're going to find out how to join it.
Yes.
But please, let's all support it because we need to prove that this pilot program, which focuses on helping dementia caregivers, actually works so that this can become a standard part of Medicare.
And can also be expanded globally.
Yes, it would be ideal for the U.S. to prove its worth so that we can help other countries take advantage of these kinds of things.
Because they're watching and they're aware of it. And
Good
this
point.
is a great thing.
Good point.
Thanks for those points. I think it's really important to highlight that. This is a groundbreaking program that is being offered around the country. So definitely we want to show up and show out, as people tend to say sometimes. The GUIDE program offers like one-on-one support and coaching by dementia providers, care navigation through an often difficult and chaotic healthcare system.
Yes.
Education and training and resources to caregivers, which is much needed.
Amazing.
Lots of tools and resources that we can share along the way. And also respite, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but it's respite offering for Medicare beneficiaries is unprecedented. It's never been done before, and it's really, really exciting. As of today, July 1st, there are approximately 390 programs across the country that have been vetted by Medicare to provide this program, and so it is really, really going to have an impact for persons living with dementia and their caregivers.
Which is huge because it's fully funded by Medicare. I mean, this is amazing, and this is the first time, and this is so incredibly important and valuable. And this is why Nancy and I prioritize this as something that really stands out, because it's the first time Medicare is recognizing the caregiver. And conservatively in the United States, there are over 12 million caregivers who are providing millions of hours of unpaid support. And these are the family caregivers.
Specifically for people living with dementia.
Specifically.
Not even any
other.
Yeah.
So the need is huge. Having it being recognized as doing such a responsible job of the program is incredible. And so this takes us to our first tip, which is, if this sounds like something that you would be interested in, how do you find out if you're eligible?
That's a great question. To be eligible for the GUIDE program, patients need to have Medicare, both Medicare A and B. Traditional Medicare needs to be the primary payer, since this is a Medicare pilot program. So unfortunately, at this time, patients or beneficiaries enrolled in Medicare Advantage aren't eligible. We may see that change down the road. Patients cannot be enrolled in hospice and cannot live in a long-term care skilled nursing facility. And so those are really...
But you can be like an assisted living.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good distinction.
Not in a nursing home, but that is a good distinction.
Okay.
Although many of those terms get really blurred.
I know. That's why we bring it up. Yeah.
Within GUIDE, so you're eligible. What do you get? Like, what's the added benefit? It provides a comprehensive assessment by a dementia proficient provider. Medicare has done a really good job at requiring providers that are touching patients and caregivers to actually be the experts in their field.
Wow, that's great.
Right?
Yeah, that's so important.
The amount of vetting that we had to go through for that was, for those of us that have done this work forever, it's just finally somebody's listening to us. Right?
Yeah, it's encouraging, actually.
It is very. There's an entire interdisciplinary team, so that's really important too. That it's not just me out in the world providing support and care, which I always love to do, but there's an entire team of people, and so we can really hit different aspects of people's lives in caregiving. There is a care navigator. A dedicated care navigator for each beneficiary and caregiver group.
That is huge. I mean, there's someone specific.
Right. This program actually also requires that we're proactive. And so the care navigator is your person that's going to help you steer, or help you paddle down the river, or maybe it's up the river. Is that the hard part, right?
Might feel that way.
Yeah, we often feel that we're paddling up the river. Yes.
But we're not, within this program, Medicare really realizes that caregivers are overwhelmed and extremely busy. And sometimes you don't have time to stop and call and ask a question. So I do love that they expect programs and participants to be very proactive in reaching out, offering resources, really being in tune to each individual, dyad's needs.
Well, and having someplace and someone to call is huge.
It is.
Yeah.
It is really nice. And so that care navigator is just really going to be the one that's going to sort of quarterback within the team.
Okay.
Although each of these participating programs are really the quarterback for overall care for patients.
Okay.
There is a one-time home assessment that's really just done sort of right after the time of enrollment into the GUIDE program. And the intent of that is sending somebody with a trained eye in to get a feel of what does day-to-day look like for patients and caregivers. So are there tweaks along the way, anything that we could recommend that would help patients maintain their independence, that would help make things easier for the caregiver, to whether it's set up or, directing people in a way. And I tell you, in doing this the last year, sometimes it's just moving a nightlight from the hallway into the bathroom, or the other thing that's my favorite is that I've done for many patients is putting a picture of a commode on the bathroom door.
Now, seriously, there are so many people
Seriously.
that would never have known about that or thought you wouldn't. It's like,
seems too simple.
yeah,
right? It's the little things.
It's the little things, but they're huge.
They're huge.
Yeah.
I've always said this, that caring for patients with dementia and their families, it's the little things that make the difference.
Yeah.
It's the little bitty tweaks. And they're so little, but they really are game
But the
changers.
impacts are just overwhelming at times.
They are. So that's the intent of that, which I just think is really, really neat.
Yeah.
And it's been extremely helpful for a lot of caregivers. It made a big difference. If you can make 2 mornings a week easier, right? Everybody's like, oh, we'll take it. Yeah, we'll take anything we can
all of
get.
our listeners are going, please.
Yeah, I know. I mean, maybe 5 days a morning. 5 days a week. Also, GUIDE requires that participating programs provide dedicated, it's ongoing training and support. This is an 8-year pilot. So, this is not come in and we're going to teach you and we'll check on you. It's really, really providing resources. And so that shoulder to shoulder support, I think, is the best way to put
now,
that.
when you have the pilot program, you don't have to be able to commit to it for 8 years because
No,
you may
that's
not
a
have
good
that
program.
journey. So
No, that's
clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, that is a good. Medicare has dedicated to fund this program for the next 8 years.
Yeah.
Which is important to be able to measure the interventions that we're doing and what those outcomes are. There's actually no commitment required for GUIDE. It's voluntary. It is really just an additional Medicare benefit. There's no cost to patients. There's no contract. You can voluntarily in and out.
And stay as long as you want.
Stay as long as you want.
Okay. That's a great clarification. Okay. Yeah.
They also require that we provide 24/7. So there's a lot of programs or a lot of parts of programs that have been providing, pieces of this program along the way. But not everybody was available 24/7. We probably all have the Alzheimer's 24/7 hotline number in our phones. Still, probably, right?
Oh, yes.
But that's not always the tailored help that you need.
Right. It's not personalized
it's
to your
fantastic.
to the care that you've
Right. It's not personalized to the care that you're getting. So they do require all of the participating programs to provide 24/7 support,
which is huge. Yeah. Because
it's so interesting. Things always happen at 3:00 in the morning.
They happen in the middle of the night. It's like this. It doesn't necessarily happen at 9:30 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon.
Yep. We talked about the care coordination. This is a program that really aims at being the quarterback, being the overseer, the collector of all the things. And Medicare very actively expects these programs to coordinate with the existing medical team that patients have, making sure that hospital transfers and discharges or changes between care levels are very smooth and free from chaos or disaster. And so let's talk about the respite benefit. Respite is where, as a caregiver, you can step away and have somebody come in and actually take care of your loved one.
Sounds wonderful.
People that enroll within GUIDE are eligible for up to $2,500 a year in respite.
That's wonderful.
Paid respite care to come in. So patients at an earlier stage that are still fairly independent may not need that, that level of oversight.
Sure.
GUIDE requires participating programs to provide at least in-home respite, so sending a paid caregiver in so people can get away, take a nap.
Yeah, massive.
Remember naps?
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
But those benefits can also, participating programs can also use that respite benefit for adult day programs and inpatient respite.
Right.
So those are available.
So if I like hearing all this and all this sounds like something that would benefit me, then let's talk about tip 2, which is how do I find a GUIDE program near me? You just said there were 390 of them.
390.
So that sounds like a lot, but maybe not. We're a big country.
The good thing is that they're nicely scattered across the country.
Okay, good.
It doesn't seem to be too heavily populated in certain areas. Medicare designates the service area for each participating program, right? And that's just to ensure that if you're going to provide this level of care, you're going to provide this level of care.
Okay.
And so they don't want people to sort of overpromise. And so each participating program had to designate the geographic area that they could provide services in. So that's important to note.
Yes.
Medicare has a website for GUIDE. It's a really long Medicare
Name.
government
Name.
website.
Yes.
But I usually just tell people to Google Medicare plus guide plus dementia, and that it pops up pretty easily.
That's awesome. And then we'll, of course, as always, put the link in the show notes. So they don't have to
That'd
have
be
too
so
hard.
helpful, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, I got a call from a caregiver a few weeks ago. His wife was away at her adult day program, and it was just one of those mornings, and he just hit the end of his rope.
Mm.
And he called and he said, Amy, I'm literally sitting outside in the rain. I just can't do this today.
Oh, bless his heart.
And so we were able to help him, set up a respite right around the corner. So he just took a break. But I think every caregiver has that day.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Multiple days or periods of time. And it's just been amazing to be able to provide that level of help that people don't have to come out of pocket for.
That's
and
awesome.
It's just incredible. So I'm very, very excited about that part.
For people who already have a medical care team, it would be helpful to find out, how we integrate with them. And that happens to be tip 3. So how do we integrate the GUIDE program in with our existing medical team?
Right. That's a great question.
It is.
This really should be a nice add-on or augmenting. Each program is going to vary a little bit, right? In the depth of the level and management of what they're providing.
Mm-hmm.
But because the requirement of documented care coordination, it should be something that would easily just fit on to somebody's existing medical team. So there wouldn't be any conflict that I wouldn't think too easily. But that does bring up a good point. You want to ask the right questions, right?
Yes.
How do you know? I've just said that every program is going to do this a little differently, right? How do you know what's going to be a good fit for you? So I did bring a list of questions.
Good.
I think the first question is, can I keep my existing medical team? Is that okay with you guys? Not that it's okay. Would that provide any conflict? I think is a better way probably to ask that. How are you going to coordinate with my existing specialist and medical providers? What's expected from me? So what's the frequency look like? Do I have to come in? Is this through telehealth? Is this phone calls? Is this phone triage? How often do we have to do this? Exactly. So if this is going to be the right fit, right?
Right. And you did say, I asked you this, and I think you told me. So even though there's 390, which sometimes sounds like a lot and sometimes doesn't when you think about the size of the country, there can be, if you're in some geographies, more than one.
There can be.
So you do want to understand what these questions are. And because of like what you just said, some are going to provide more service than others. So you need to understand which one fits best with what you're looking for.
Particularly in unfortunately in larger metropolitan areas, there are likely to be multiple guide participating programs. But also in Georgia, there's going to be some rural overlap too, which is really nice.
That is nice because they usually don't get that.
They usually don't get that. But every geographical area is going to be a little different.
Okay.
What exactly is available to us, right? So what are the classes and how are those offered? Are they in person? Are they via Zoom? Are they self-directed? What are the support groups? And I think what kind of support groups is also really important. I think that this, particularly in caregiving for patients with dementia, having that circle of support that really helps you care for your loved one with dementia. And I always explain it by saying, if I'm a 30-year-old daughter taking care of a mother with an early onset Alzheimer's, maybe that Tuesday at 10 a.m. group of spouses taking care of their husbands isn't maybe going to be the best fit for me. So just making sure and also voicing, straight up front what your needs are, I think is important.
That's good.
Helpful.
There are ongoing assessments, right? So we also, our patients and caregivers, have a little bit of responsibility in this program as well. There's ongoing assessments that will measure caregiver stress and burden, quality of life for persons living with dementia, staging of dementia along the way. Are there any health-related social needs that are impacting care in any way so that we can develop resources? And so those assessments are going to have to be done at least annually and sometimes more if we're doing a reassessment.
That's reasonable, though.
Changes.
Yeah.
There is. They're in depth. Not in depth in number of questions, but they're asking tough questions. And so it's really, really important for caregivers to answer this honestly. You really and truly, this is not the time to sugarcoat it.
Mm-hmm.
We need to show Medicare and the rest of the world. This is a game-changing program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dementia care will be changed infinitely
Right.
by the findings from this program. So we need to really show how hard this is, or how hard it can be. Just because your stress is managed doesn't mean that you're not having stress.
Right.
That's huge. I mean, just because you're managing it doesn't mean you don't have it.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a pilot program. It's absolutely, as you said in the beginning, it's groundbreaking. It's a Medicare pilot program, and it's for those of us who are caregivers. I mean, a huge opportunity. So when you say tell it like it is, I mean, this is our opportunity to tell it like it is and to be really honest about it, because it is a big deal, and it's longest struggle. And for us, training and respite really do matter. They really move the needle. And when we think about the impact that we can have in our lives, and then as this works in the lives of more people here in the United States, and then also around the world, this is huge. So it's a great opportunity. I'm so thrilled that you're sharing all this information with us.
Yeah, I mean, it is truly at the time where I think we want to make sure as many people as possible know about this program.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be people who are in the Atlanta area, which is what Emory serves. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Emory IMC in case people are, are interested specifically about your program?
The Integrated Memory Care Clinic at Emory is a clinic really led by nurse practitioners. We're all dementia specialists and geriatric specialists, providing primary care for patients with dementia. So we try to bring everything under one umbrella. So we have Geri Psych, we've got licensed social workers, RNs on our team, and it eliminates some of that doctor hopping or up and down the road visits. It was hard enough to get in the car one day. It's definitely harder to get in the car 3 days.
Exactly.
Our clinic is located part of the Emory Clinic system. We're at North Druid Hills and Briarcliff, right in Executive Park. But we also have a community arm of our clinic where the nurse practitioners are making house calls to various senior living communities around the large metro area. So that's just been a really fun thing to participate in, and we'd love to talk to you and ask some questions.
Yes. Awesome. This has been fantastic. I know Sue and I both felt like this was a really important topic, and you've brought so much light to it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
I just cannot stress enough. There's really no downside for people joining the GUIDE program or enrolling in it. The more we put into a program like this, the more we're going to get out of it in the long run.
Well, Nancy and I would both have been right at the top of the list of people volunteering if this had started a few years ago. So hopefully this can be a method of supporting other people being able to take advantage of something that they are going to get so much benefit from.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's summarize.
Okay.
Today, Sue and I talked with Amy Imes about the U.S. Medicare GUIDE Program and really all that it can do to help dementia family caregivers. We talked about 3 tips. First, understand your eligibility and how to understand your eligibility. Second, how to find a GUIDE program near you. And third, how would the GUIDE program be incorporated into your existing medical team? Now, if you've been a participant in GUIDE already, or you know something about the GUIDE program, feel free to put any tips you might have on our Facebook page or our Instagram page. The links are in the show notes. We'll also make sure the links to how to find the GUIDE program are in the show notes as well. Now, remember also, any podcast, just look at the number of the podcast. And if you go to the caregiverjourney.org, you look at our blog, the blog portion of our site, there's a matching blog. So we've effectively taken notes for you. So you don't have to take notes and remember everything we said on this podcast. Just go print off the blog. If you like this podcast, please share it with anyone you think it might help. Please follow us or subscribe to it. We really, really appreciate it. And as we always say,
we're all on this journey together.